Welcome back to another explainer here on At QMS with Naveen. Grab your hard hat because today we are tackling something that brings a very specific kind of April dread to literally every project site. Yep, you guessed it, corporate appraisals. We're going to break down exactly why the standard, run-of-the-mill performance review system is completely failing our industry, and more importantly, how we can actually fix it.
Let's just dive right into a core question here. As project managers with actual mud on our boots, we've got to ask ourselves something. When we force our site teams into this rigid corporate statistical model, are we actually measuring their grit, their problem solving, and their site execution? Or are we honestly just feeding an HR spreadsheet to make the numbers look pretty?
Think about it. Right now, in so many organizations, we're cramming well over 100 wildly different employees into a single, totally non-comparable evaluation pool. I mean, we are talking about QA/QC engineers, EHS safety officers, planning, billing, and execution teams, all just thrown into the exact same statistical bell curve. It's like comparing apples to, well, excavators.
And honestly, the absolute worst part is the math that follows all of this. After endless rounds of normalization and calibration, a literally meaningless 0.06 decimal rounding difference can completely alter an engineer's rating. That tiny microscopic fraction is out there destroying the collaboration and team morale that we desperately rely on to actually get our projects built on time.
Let's look at a painfully real scenario to show you exactly what I mean. Meet Ramesh and Suresh. Now, both of these guys bled for the same project, right? They face the exact same site conditions. But after corporate normalization does its thing, Ramesh gets a raw score of 3.49. Well, that rounds down to a 3, an average rating. Suresh, he gets a 3.55, which rounds up to a 4, an above average rating. So a tiny decimal fraction leaves Ramesh with a lower increment and a whole lot of silent frustration, while Suresh is left just feeling guilty about his own success.
I mean, this just brilliantly illustrates the massive flaw in the system. Is a 0.06 point difference an accurate reflection of the actual performance gap? Absolutely not. No way. When colleagues who tackled the exact same site challenges are split by a simple rounding error, a culture of secretive competition quickly replaces the open teamwork we desperately need on site. The disconnect here is just so obvious. You see, corporate bell curves assume that everyone produces standardized, perfectly comparable widgets under identical conditions. But out here in construction reality, you simply cannot compare a safety officer whose main goal is zero accidents with a billing engineer who's processing highly complex financial claims. They are fundamentally different jobs.
So let's break down how this creates a systemic failure. Normalization fails us because it completely ignores site-critical binary metrics. Things like zero structural failures just disappear when you toss everyone into a shared pool. It ignores project complexity entirely, and perhaps most destructively, it uses forced distribution. That means even if a project team collectively performs at an incredibly high level, we're still forced to artificially label perfectly good, hard-working engineers as underperformers, just to satisfy the curve.
Now here is the absolutely crucial point. We aren't against measuring performance. We're not against rewarding merit. High performers absolutely deserve better outcomes, for sure. But we are using a blunt tool that was designed for standardized service operations, and we're using it in a complex, deeply interdependent environment like a live construction site. It just doesn't fit.
Okay, so how do we actually fix this? Well, here's our master plan for a better appraisal framework that actually respects how we build things. We've broken it all down into a 5-component construction framework. Let's walk through exactly how each of these specific steps can completely transform our performance culture.
Component 1 is simple, but honestly, it's revolutionary. Evaluate people within their own functional domain. QA/QC should be measured on NCR closure rates and audits. EHS should be measured on safety compliance, like LTFR. Most importantly, QA/QC should not be unfairly battling procurement for the top rating. We need apples to apples, domain by domain.
Second, we absolutely must account for project complexity. Let's face the reality here. An engineer managing a high-pressure metro or a massive refinery project, that demands a fundamentally different level of intensity and coordination than someone on a routine residential build. The rating scale needs to reflect that weight automatically, maybe giving an appropriate multiplier for critical infrastructure.
Third up, we need to formally weigh behavioral and collaboration metrics. Nobody builds a high-rise alone, right? So how you respond to unexpected site crises under pressure, how well you prepare documentation for handover, and whether you actually take the time to mentor junior engineers, That needs to be a heavily weighted metric. It can't just be an afterthought you casually bring up at the water cooler.
Fourth, and honestly, this is a really big one, we need to throw out forced distribution entirely. We've got to replace mandatory percentages with flexible bands. Look, if a site team delivers a flawless project ahead of schedule, the system should allow us to recognize all of them for that massive success. We shouldn't require this artificial blood sacrifice of naming underperformers at the bottom of a curve just because the formula says so.
Finally, Component 5, Normalization Transparency. When ratings do inevitably get adjusted, we owe our engineers total transparency. Instead of hiding behind vague corporate excuses like, well, normalization happened at the leadership level, we need to share the specific parameters used. We need to provide written feedback and give them a totally clear developmental roadmap.
Now, until this new system is built, we still have to protect our culture on the ground today. If you find yourself in Ramesh's shoes with an unexpected, lower-than-deserved rating, try to avoid personalizing it as a manager betrayal. It's often just a systemic outcome. Instead, don't withdraw. Keep demonstrating ownership. Sit down with your manager and ask for concrete behavioral evidence on exactly how you can hit a 4 next year. And hey, if you're over there in Suresh's position with the higher rating, listen closely. Hiding your rating out of guilt only breeds toxicity. Don't do it. Be honest, be empathetic, validate your teammates' hard work, and openly acknowledge that the system's flawed math and rounding played a big role in the difference. Transparency really protects the relationship. For the project managers listening to this explainer today, you are the crucial buffer here. In your one-on-ones, look your engineer in the eye and clarify what they did great. Provide written summaries of their strong performance that exist completely independently of whatever integer the corporate calibration just spit out. Set concrete goals. You are the one who protects the team culture. So what is the road forward for us? Think about this. We've upgraded our site tech, our safety gear, our execution methods constantly over the last 2 decades, right? Well, it is about time we finally upgrade our performance management to actually match our industry's reality. We have to move from an opaque, high-stakes annual ritual to transparent, domain-specific, continuous reviews. Never forget this fundamental truth. Pitting teammates against each other might make for incredibly neat and tidy HR spreadsheets. And yeah, it might give corporate a sense of process control. But when it destroys the trust required to pour concrete, solve crises, and meet real deadlines, the entire project ecosystem loses. Big time. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Take a really hard look at your own project site this April and ask yourself, is your site measuring actual performance, or are you all just surviving the bell curve? Think about how you can start protecting your team's culture today. Thanks so much for joining this explainer on @QMS with Naveen. Keep building and stay safe out there.